Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Wednesday, October 30th, 2019, and here are some of today's trends in the news. Over there in Asia, the markets are down. Over there in Europe, the markets are mixed. Over here in the States, the markets are up. Bitcoin down, gold up, oil down. What's going on? Well, the big day today was the Feds. Yeah, the Feds. The banksters, the central banks over here in America. They lowered interest rates again. What a surprise. Remember, we called it first. We called it back in 2018, back in December, when we had the worst Dow since the Great Depression. And then on January 4th, Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, did an about-face. We got to watch them markets. They're going down, so we're going to be accommodative, and they are. The S&P hit an all-time high as investors, gamblers, cheered the Federal Reserve's third-rate cut of the year and comments from Chairman Jerome Powell that signaled it would be a while before central banks hike rates. Here's our forecast. We say by November of next year, 2020, you're going to see zero or negative interest rates in the United States. And what else? Commerce Department says U.S. GDP grew at 1.9% in the third quarter. That topped expectations of 1.6%. That's not much growth. And it doesn't look like we're going to get the 3% growth that Trump promised. And what else? The S&P 500 companies. The S&P 500, by the way, hit another all-time high. And 74% of the companies that posted better than expected earnings. So now the earnings are going to go up again a bit because cheap money, the gamblers could keep borrowing almost for free. And you see the Federal Reserve and the New York Fed Bank dumping more money into the repo markets and into quantitative easing, with the Fed at $60 billion a month. So Ponzi keeps going. Oil prices, again, they're only around $60 a barrel. They said because of high inventories today. That's why the prices went down a bit. But there's a global slowdown. It has nothing to do with trade. The United States is standing by itself over here. Gold prices went up because interest rates went down. And with interest rates going down, they expect the dollar to get weaker. And you know the deal, that the weaker the dollar, and being that gold is dollar denominated, that means those other currencies don't go down a lot. So they could buy gold. But the dollar gets strong, the other currencies get weak. You need more of those currencies to buy gold. But the dollar still remains relatively strong, and we don't see it weakening considering what terrible shape the rest of the world is in. Retailers add robots as holiday shopping gets more automated. I mention this because everything's going to get more automated. And when we talk about the greatest depression that's coming, we believe in 2021, more automation, more people out of work, more homeless on the streets, more people losing everything, and when you have nothing left to lose, you lose it, more riots around the world. Again, go back to the Great Depression. 1930, there were 2 billion people on the planet. We've added 5.5 billion in less than 100 years. Robotics, automation. There's overcapacity, overproduction, overpopulation. There are more people than jobs. So, it's very important because you're going to see more human waves of people leaving their countries, trying to find jobs, trying to find security, because their nations have turned to violence and poverty, crime and corruption. So this is very big. Again, it's in your Trends Journal, and we're going over this and hitting it like nobody else is because we're putting the globalnomic pieces together. And again, the lower mortgage rates. What's that doing? Well, it's promoting home sales. So lenders extended 700 billion, of home loans in the July to September quarter, the most in 14 years. It's monetary methadone they're pumping into the system. It's home sales have risen annually for the past 3 months. They fell a little bit in September. Mortgage organizations for the full year are on pace to hit their highest levels since 2006, the peak of the last housing boom. Refinance activity jumped 75% from a year earlier in July. Now again, interest rates just went lower, and they're going to keep going lower, and that's what keeps the economy going. End of story. Because WeWork is bleeding cash in China. And you know about what's going on with WeWork, and it ain't working so good. So in China, for example, in Shenzhen, where the company has 8,000 desks, 65.3% were vacant. I'm mentioning this because this WeWork ain't going to work as things go slower. This thing is going to be one big bubble that goes down really hard. IMF to test Argentina's new leader. Yeah, guess what? The International Monetary Fund. They loan more money to Argentina than anybody. Again, it's one dumb government after another going in, and it's not going to fix anything. So, again, you're going to see more and more depression, recession, destabilization around the world. India's shadow lending debacle sparks alert on bank and property contagion. They're talking about these non-bank financial groups. Again, it's like going back to the pre-2008 panic when all these people are loaning money to people that can't pay it back, and they're building and buying homes. The same thing is going on there, and they're afraid it's going to be a contagion into the regular banking system. And of course, the central bankers are saying, no, don't worry anything about it. It'll be all right. It's under control. No, it's not. You're looking at auto sales way off. You're looking at a major slowdown in India and huge debt piles that won't be paid back. Kellogg's snacks drive growth. Yeah, people aren't eating breakfast so much anymore, as we wrote in the last Trends Journal. Again, your Trends Journal, history before it happens. No other magazine like it in the world. It's a weekly now. Nothing comes close to it. If it does, let us know. We would love to see it. We did a whole story on this about how these junk food places are selling, people are eating more protein. So they're buying sausage and eggs on a bun. Oh, yeah, that's great. That'll keep you healthy. That's right. Kellogg's snack food sales went up 5.2%. And it's all connected. Fast food neighbors likely to be heavier. The closer a child in New York City lives to a fast food restaurant, the more likely they are to be overweight and obese, according to a new analysis by researchers at New York University School of Medicine. The numbers are astounding here. 1 in 4 youths aged 12 to 19 are overweight or obese. New York City public school children aged 5 to 18, 19% were obese, 37% overweight. Again, they're going to junk food places to eat. So all this thing you hear about vegans and plant-based, and yeah, that has a market, but the market is much bigger for the junk food market. Oh, and what's going on over there in California? The Getty fire that sent thousands of West Side residents fleeing was started by a tree branch that fell on power lines. So the Los Angeles mayor, this Eric Garcetti, this is moronic that you have power lines still above ground. And then I hear the BS, well, we have earthquakes over there and things rot under the ground. Look, if they could put cables under the ocean, you could deal with this. Or how about sewer lines and water lines underground? The reason we have all these power lines out here is because these disgusting lowlives want to keep making more money, and they could have buried them as they were doing it for a very low price, and now they give you inflated prices because it costs a lot more to do it now. So this is what this Gatson Gitsetti says. Video footage shows a branch breaking off a eucalyptus tree and sparking the fire. Garcetti said the branch came from outside the clearance area and the incident, you ready, was an act of God. Keep God out of this, you stupid jerk off. What kind of a moron? I'll tell you what kind of a moron, like all the moron, idiot, scum, slime jerks called politicians, mobsters, thieves that are running and ruining a country near you. Act of God. God damn it. Oh, don't curse. Hey, wait a minute. He used God's name in vain. Anyway, moving on to some international news. Brexit on hold as Johnson prepares to light fuse on December snap election. Look at this Brexit deal. It was people voted for it in 2016. 3 years later, they haven't done anything to give the people what they want. And now you got this other jerk off over there in Europe land. Donald Tusk, the European Council President Tusk, another arrogant piece of shit. He goes on to say, he sent a tweet warning Britain that the EU 27 might not extend Brexit again beyond January 31st. You ready for this? Please make the best use of this time. I will keep my fingers crossed for you. What kind of an adult says, I will keep my fingers crossed to you? Here's the finger for you, you jerk off. How about this? From the Toilet Paper Record, front page story. Betrayed Kurds were vital in finding ISIS leader. Oh, yeah, that ISIS leader that they got, that they're making a big deal about, that they killed. The guy was disabled from what the reports were. Nothing. Makes absolutely no difference. And all of a sudden, the Kurds in way. America is illegally in a foreign nation that have no business being there, and you wouldn't have these Islamic groups if you murderers didn't go in there and destroy all these nations and create the conditions for it. Could you add that up, stupid? No, we're the New York slime. We sell propaganda. Mozambique president wins landslide victory, the opposition calls it. A mega fraud in a country near you. That's all these political systems are mega frauds. Iraq protesters resume after scores are killed. You know what kind of numbers we're looking at? About 250 people just in this month. Because of the destruction brought to you by the murderous, slimy people running America. The George W. Bushes, the Bidens and others that voted for it. All the cowards in Congress that gave power to El Presidente rather than abiding by the Constitution. Article 1, Clause 5, that only Congress could vote to go to war. A war based on lies by Penis Cheney and Condoleezza Rice, that next mushroom cloud. Yep, and the media that sold it. And now the people have nothing there. They're fighting against corruption, poverty, decay, thanks to the United States and all the other murderers that went in there. And don't forget to get back to work. We want your money. That's right. The Pentagon strikes stealth jet fighter deal with Lockheed. $34 billion to buy these shit planes that when you see the reports on them, they're a joke. F-16s can outmaneuver these things in some ways. $34 billion, they steal your money, you work, and all they do is rob your money. For the military-industrial complex and for morons in a city and a state near you, creating jobs they don't need, bureaucracies that keep them in power, while you have to work and slave, because that's all we are plantation workers, on the multinational plantation of Slavelandia. So we could spend our money with 40 airstrikes in Afghanistan every day in September, according to the Pentagon. That's right. Slaughtering innocent people and spending our money to do it. Occupy peace, because without peace, there will be no joy, no liberty, no love, no beauty. And I'm a warrior for the Prince of Peace. I won't die for war, but I fight for peace. And not many people out there are anymore. This is how the toilet paper record keeps selling hate. Putin releases a fresh wave of repression. Oh yeah, a fresh wave of repression. Hey, did you see what they did to Max Blumenthal, that wonderful writer and editor from Gray Zone, a terrific site? Oh yeah, the SWAT teams, the cops, arrested him, put him in jail for 2 days on a nothing charge because he had something to do with reporting on the lies of Venezuela and being around the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. 5 months ago. Oh, and that's not repression. Shutting down sites that you don't want their information on, that's not repression. Only Russia does it because, again, this shows you the propaganda message. A new message: Moscow trains its propaganda machine in Africa. America has no propaganda machine. They talk about RT and Sputnik. I'm on RT from time to time. Used to be on it a lot. Oh, you mean our media is here? Oh, Voice of America? Oh, that's not propaganda. They're all propaganda outlets in this country. And here's the way they write it. Deploying its international propaganda arms, the television channel RT and Sputnik news agency, the Kremlin is honing this message. While Western European and United States are continuing a centuries-old tradition of exploiting Africa, Moscow is ready to engage with Africa on mutually beneficial terms. That doesn't sound like propaganda to me. That sounds like the truth. Oh, you forgot about all those colonies? Oh, yeah, South Africa, all those places run and destroyed by the European colonists? And how about the Americans overthrowing all of those leaders, huh? You want to go to the Congo again? Third parties may face tougher ballot path in New York State. Look at this. Freedom and democracy, shove it. There's no freedom and democracy in any of the Western worlds. They're controlled by a mafia, by murderous thieves that run our government. The two-party system, the Bloods and the Crips. The chairman of the New York State Democratic Party is pushing for a proposal that would essentially neuter almost all third parties. A party currently needs 50,000 votes for its candidate for governor to secure a spot on the ballot. They're going to raise it to 250,000. Yeah, America. Yeah, F you. It's a gang. It's a murderous gang of freaks running and ruining a country near you. And what else do we have over here? The city of New York has 114,000 homeless pupils. Arrests at the U.S. southern border at highest in more than a decade. Nearly 900,000 people this year alone. I'm mentioning these two because the homeless problem and the immigration problem are going to escalate dramatically as the Greatest Depression takes hold. And no one is doing anything to prepare for it. It's only going to get a lot worse. And I have a solution for part of it. You have all this public land. Take these people off the streets. Take them out of these expensive homeless shelters and build on this beautiful land that we have all over. And in doing so, now they're in nature. They're not in the streets. And they could farm. And they could learn how to do things. Cook, clean. If you want to put your tent out, put your tent out. Because the way we're going with this, there's going to be a homeless person in an area near you coming soon. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's trends in the news.